Hi everyone. I hope that everyone is doing well. Welcome to Let's Talk Operation Management. This is one of our most recent video, which is about supply chain management. I'm quite excited about this new video and every content that we're gonna go through. If you've not yet subscribed to the channel, please do share, like, and subscribe to the channel. Now, today we're gonna talk about supply chain management. Like you can see, once again, all our videos about Let's Talk Operation Management are actually compiled from the J. Azer and Operation Management book. This are the resources that we're using so far. Now, supply chain management. What is supply chain management? I'm pretty sure at this point, if you have done, as we've been, you have watched most of our videos, there are key terms that come like supply chain management, like we have suppliers, we get output, input. Those are kind of operation terms that one use as we are dealing in operation management. But there's one thing that is really important, which is supply chain management. And actually, for me, I really consider this like the heart of operation management, because and the art of even every organization, because everything revolves around your supply chain. Let's look at it. Just imagine, this is McDonald's. We all like McDonald's. I don't like McDonald's that much, but I like the idea behind McDonald's and the business itself. But this is McDonald's. This is a Big Mac. We all know it. We all like it. Nice. But have you ever wondered what happens when you buy your Big Mac? All the process behind. Where do they get the vegetable? How does it work? Does McDonald's own a farm? But there are just so many. If I can just let's look at this burger here, and let me just give you few things that are just behind this burger that we do not know. The buns that McDonald's gets for the burger itself, they need to get them somewhere. I don't know. I've never seen McDonald's with a bakery, but they do get it. The vegetables, I know McDonald's doesn't own a farm. If they did, I would have known, but I know they don't have a farm. Where you go somewhere in South Africa, or I don't know, somewhere around the world, they're like, this is a farm owned by McDonald's. I don't know. Then we also have the drinks. Well, this is kind of sometimes obvious because you find out that on the drinks, most of the time they work with Coca-Cola that provide them with the drinks. But then you also got the packaging. They don't have a manufacturing company that makes the packages, whatever they do to make the food look fancy and all those things. Then we also get the suppliers, the trucks, the delivery guys, and all those kind of things. And then we also got the Wi-Fi. McDonald's, wherever you go, one thing that I like about them is like you always have Wi-Fi when you go there. You always get internet and everything. Then on top of that, we have ESCOM and electricity. Now, when you look at all this is what we call actually a supply chain. It is actually this set of all these people that are behind the final product before you get them. You don't just wake up in the morning and you get your burger. There just so many things. McDonald's doesn't go in its kitchen and they do 1, 2, 3, everything appears. There's all this coordination of activities. We need to make sure that our buns from the bakery are ready. We need to make sure that our vegetable from McCain are ready. We need to make sure that the drinks from Coca-Cola are ready. We need to make sure that the guys that are dealing with the packaging, the electricity is there, the Wi-Fi is there. All of those is kind of very, very, very tricky. It's a very tricky process because you need to know how everything comes in place. So as you're working, you need to coordinate all these activities. Imagine you order the bun, they come, but your vegetables are not yet there. Or everything is there, but ESCOM want to take out the electricity. Or as much as they work, but they don't have internet, how is it going to be? Or they do have everything, but they don't have the packaging. So that is where supply chain come the most, is the part where we now try to coordinate all those activities so that we make sure that we receive the product from all our suppliers. It is called supply chain. Obviously, the first word is supply because these are the company that provide the organization with most of the things that they need, and it is a chain because, like I told you, one thing leads to another. We need to have the bun so that we have the vegetables. We need to have the vegetables so that we can mix with we can match with the drink. We need to have the drink, the vegetable, and everything so that we can package them. And everything need to come together with the use of electricity because we need electricity to function. So that's why we call it a supply chain. It's all about all these organizations coming together and delivering us the Big Mac that we enjoy. Now, this was just an introduction. Now, let's look at where are we going now. Now that we'll be doing this video, first of all, we talk about the strategic importance of supply chain management. We'll try to identify 5 of the supply chain strategies that is not that they are these are the only strategies, but these are the one that will really touch the most. Then we'll also talk about the issues, about opportunities, the issues and opportunities that one can find in the supply chain. Then we'll also talk about the different approach when it comes to the supply chain negotiation. Now, let's dig into it. Supply chain strategic importance. Supply chain is quite very important. Like I mentioned in the beginning, it is quite important because we need actually to integrate all the activities about procuring ourselves the material, the service. We need to transform them and give the final product to customer. That is the most important part about supply chain. So one needs to know that supply chain is all about coordinating all these activities, not just coordinating activities, but getting the right supplier, making sure that they submit making sure that they deliver in time everything that we need. This is what makes supply chain very interesting. Let me just give you an example. This is an Huawei P40. This is an iPhone 12, I think, Pro Max. Between the two, if one of you would like to have their birthday, I'm pretty sure that more than 50% would like to go for the iPhone. Obviously, we like iPhone. It's Apple. It's from the US. We all enjoy them. Huawei, some people they even struggle even to read the name itself. And on top of that, it's coming from China. Man, it's China, And yeah, it's China. Who would like to buy to take a product from China over a product from the US? And then if we tell you that all these phones are all manufactured in the same place, you wouldn't believe that. The batteries from the iPhone, they are coming from China. The technologies that some of these companies are using are coming from China. But then some of the components from the phone, they are coming from China. But all of them are coming from China. But how come Apple is more desired compared to Huawei, for example? This is where operation management realize that competition in business now is no longer between companies. It's about the supply chain. You find out that the supply chain, the services that Apple provide are not the same as what Huawei provide. Obviously, at a certain point, there might be this thing of reputation. As much as Huawei can try to do things good, but it's still not, they do not have the same reputation as Apple. But still, you understand that at this point, we are competing not about the product, not about the company only, but the supplier. You can be a good company, but if your suppliers are the one that will determine how successful you are. If you have suppliers that provide quality product, you will also have quality product. If you have suppliers that always provide your product in time, you will always deliver to your customers in time. But if you have suppliers that always disappoint you, that always bring you product, I'm not saying that Huawei supply disappointing. I'm just giving you an example to say that competition today is not based on the product, but on the suppliers, because suppliers are the one that will determine the quality of your final product. That's why supply chain is very important. Now, importance activity of the supply chain. Whenever we deal with supply chain, there are just so many things that come. We have the transportation. We need to know how do we deal. Do we deal with credit, with cash transfer? Who's going to be our suppliers? Who's going to be our distributors? How are we going to deal with the warehousing, the order fulfilling? I think with the warehousing, it leads back to another video about inventory management that you guys should watch. It's kind of very, very interesting. But then after, we also have sharing customers, forecasting, production information. So supply chain is all about everything. That's why I'm telling you that supply chain for me is the art of an organization. And even in operation management, it's all revolve about around supply chain. So we just make sure that everything that happens, we coordinate the activity, the transportation, the delivery, the customers, everything is about the supply chain. Then next, we have issues, like, as much as supply chain is quite of interesting, there are many issues that one would like to know. And especially now we are talking about the global supply chain. By global supply chain, we are talking about a company like Apple that got suppliers all over the world. Not all the suppliers are coming from China. The raw material might be coming from Africa. We got other materials that are coming from China, from Asia, other coming from Japan, and all of this, they can be very tricky. And this is what we refer to supply chain issues. So One of the issues that companies will have is like we need to be able to adapt to the change, to the part availability, to the distribution, the shipping channel, the import duties, and everything like that. This leads us with what happened with COVID-19. When the pandemic came, it really affected everything. There are companies in South Africa that got suppliers in China. When China closes their borders, here we are affected. And what happened? There's a rise in the price. Same thing with what happened with petrol that we're getting from Dubai. You also find out that all of those sudden change that can happen, they will affect the supply chain, the technology. You cannot deal with a company, your supplier use the latest technologies. Meanwhile, on your side, you're still lagging behind, and they are using fourth industrial revolution technology, while on your side you are still not even a computerized organization. It will become a problem. The other one is the staff that you have. You need to have staff with local specialties who can handle duties, freight, custom, and everything like that. As much as you might be, let's say Apple opened the doors here in South Africa, they won't take American to come and work. They will take South African that are here. So you need to make sure that the staff that you have is local first and they are specialists. They know what they are doing. Because you might take American citizens to come and work here, but then the condition here in South Africa, the situation, everything won't make them to be that productive as if it was the case back home in the US. Now, one of the best question, or one of the toughest question that come when one on the business, is the make or buy decision. Actually, you decide if you want to make a product or if you're going to buy the product. Now, there are many things that come. How does one decide? You just need not to wait. If I make, I'm fully in control. I take the responsibility, but I will need more resources. I will need extensive knowledge. I will also have enough finance, because if I need to manufacture something. Now, in this part, what we are saying is, we are talking about McDonald's. If McDonald's doesn't, that it's not like they do not have the resources to manufacture, for example, the packaging for their own product, or to have their own farm. It's not like they do not have the resource. They can. But they also realize that if we need to own a farm, it's another business. We need to be we need to have the knowledge about agriculture. We need to hire people that will deal with the farm. We need to hire managers. We need to take people that will be maintaining the farm. And it might be just too much. So instead of us having our own farm, which will fall under the make decision, why don't we buy? Which means that we're gonna import. We're gonna take this thing to other people that are going to do the job for us. And in this case, this is what they did. Instead of having a farm, they have McCain. McCain is this company that provides McDonald's with fries, which means that with fries, vegetables, and everything. And they realize that it's quite less expensive for us to deal with McCain rather than us having our own farm. Because when it comes to McCain, if we buy, we do not have full control. They will deal with everything. It is less expensive. They do not. We don't even need to have all the resources. Plus, we rely on them. So it got the advantages and disadvantages. I know the advantages maybe is the cost, but disadvantage is also that we are not really fully in control. So if they provide us something that we do not like or the customer doesn't like, we will blame them. And it's a problem. So you need to know what are the things that I can make on my side as a company. What are the things that we can, between bracket, give other people, we can buy from other people. And those decisions depend from one organization to another. Then there are different reasons why one person would like to make. There are 11 reasons. I'm not going to go for all of them, but as you can see on your screen, it maintains the core competencies. You can lower your production costs. This is if you decide to make. It is unsuitable for suppliers. It assures adequate supply. You utilize the surplus labor. You obtain the desired quality. So because you are in charge of everything, you feel like you have a total control. You see. So you can maintain the core competences, which means that one person, you will use people from your organization to work. You will act, and sometimes when you do that, it's lower your production cost because you don't need extra people. You can just use the in-house facility, and this is only if you do have them. So these are different reasons. As you read, you can go through them. But there's also other reasons that one person can use, for example, to buy. Actually, when it comes to the fees, when it comes to management, they are really decreased. We have low acquisition cost. We have a preserved supplier commitment. We reduce our inventory because the supplier is the one who's going to do everything. They just send us the final product. And this might be different reason that one person can use. But like I told you, which one should you do, buy or make? That one depends on you. And as operation managers, our objective is to minimize cost, maximize profit, which means that whatever you are doing, if it doesn't minimize cost, then it's not the right way to go about it. So if making minimizes cost for you, go for it. If buying minimizes cost for you, go for it. But remember that as much as you minimize cost, you shouldn't also compromise with the quality of the product that you are providing. Next, we have outsourcing. What is outsourcing? Outsourcing is about transferring a firm's activities that were traditionally done by the company, but you give them now to other people, to third parties, between bracket, or external parties. It is very interesting because some companies just feel like if we have to deal with all the activities, we will be focused on our core competences. So the most important thing is like let outsource some of the things to other people. I'm pretty sure some of you have seen already the Mr. D logo. You have recognized the Aramex van and everything. These are small, these are companies that sometimes, most of the time when it comes to transportation, companies tend to outsource. For example, I have a restaurant, but I don't have a delivery service. What I do is like I can subscribe with Mr. Delivery. So people can order through Mr. Delivery to our restaurant and they get the product delivered. We don't have a van to deliver our product to the customer. We can send them through Aramex. So this is what companies do. They can outsource the delivery to another company to do it for them. The advantage with that is like, let's say we have sent something with Aramex to the customer. Aramex says they have lost the product. That issue is not mine anymore. It is the responsibility of Aramex. That means now it's up to them and they have to fix the issue. So this is also the advantage of outsourcing. It puts you in a position where it more like it that's why the second bullet says that it utilizes the efficiency that comes with specialization. At a point where one decides and is like, no, with everything that we have, what we are going to do is we're going to outsource it, give it to other people. They will do it, especially if those people are specialists in the field. Like Aramex, they only deal with shipping, so they'll do it much better than us. It can be one of the options, and from what I know, there's always there are always sources. I mean, there are always companies always outsource something. Whether it can be the technology, it can be communication, it can be marketing, it can be transportation. Sometimes companies do that. Even the accounting, when you get people to come and do the audit for you and everything, sometimes companies, instead of having their own accountant, they can call another company that will do the accounting for them. Then we have the supply chain strategies. There are 5 supply chain strategies that one follows. They are not exclusive. There are others, but for the sake of this of this chapter, we are only focusing on 5, which is negotiating with many suppliers, long-term partner with few suppliers, vertical integration, Keiretsu, and having virtual companies. Now let's have a look at them separately. The very first one is supply chain strategies with many suppliers. This means that we have a company that got many suppliers. In this case, we have a small company that got 3 suppliers: supplier A, supplier B, supplier C. Why would a company want to have many suppliers? Sometimes it's very interesting when you are dealing with commodity products. And the good thing is, like, I have 3 suppliers, definitely one of them will have a lower price. So I will go for the company, the one that will suggest me a lower price, because I'll minimize cost. The good thing is, like, well, we don't really want a long-term partnership relationship, a partnering relationship. All we want is just to get our product. Whether we deal with you with 2 months, 3 months, all we want is just to get our product at the lowest cost. Now, when the suppliers know, for example, that there are other competitors, they start now competing to provide the company with the lowest cost, and it makes it even more interesting. So the supplier is responsive for technology, is also an expertise focusing the cost, the quality, and the delivery. So it's one of the strategies that the company can decide to go for. and you can judge. The next one is having a few suppliers. With few suppliers, like a company, instead of having maybe three, they're just having two suppliers, sometimes even one. What happened with them? What happened with this kind of strategy is like the buyers, they form a long-term relationship with the suppliers. We have someone that always provide. For example, like when you take the example of McDonald and McCain, I know that they have been working together for ages. And wherever McDonald is, McCain is going to be there. So when you have a relationship like that that you develop, it becomes a long-term relationship. And on top of that, it creates value through the economies of scale. Economies of scale, sometimes the supplier will be like, the more you buy, the less the prices will be. And also suppliers are willing to participate in a GIT program. Remember when you take the example of McDonald's, they deal with a GIT basis, which is just in time. We don't have a stock. We only have a small kitchen. Whenever someone wants something, then we order the stock to the supplier, that we get it, we work and we deliver. So whenever you would like to apply a GIT strategy, going for a few supplier as a supply chain strategy is really going to be very, very, very interesting. But then the only problem with changing your suppliers is just that it's going to be very expensive. You have been working with a company for 5-10 years, and now that you want to change for another supplier, you'll find out that it will be very expensive. You need to find a supplier that provides almost the same thing or even better than what your previous supplier was giving, which sometimes becomes also very tricky. Then you have the supply chain strategies, which we call vertical integration. Vertical integration is about developing the ability to produce some good or service that you used to produce or buy, you used to buy before. So now you can produce them in-house. What does it mean? It means that we have a company that deals with Aramex. Aramex deals with it's a delivery company. So our company used to make our product, then we deliver them to our customers through Aramex. But now with vertical integration, what we do is we now have our own company. We have our own delivery service. We don't need even Aramex anymore. It becomes vertical integration. So it is the ability to acquire or to develop this the service or goods that you used to purchase before. You can now make them by yourself or even provide those services by yourself. So when you look at that, you find out that you have two ways of vertical integration. One can be backward, one can be forward. Considering that the company is the one in the blue zone in the middle, you will find out that a backward integration will be the ability to acquire now the raw materials. Which means if you take the example of McDonald's, it is this company that manufactures burgers. A backward integration will be McDonald's having a farm, because they will now be producing their own raw materials, which are the vegetables. A forward integration will be now McDonald's having maybe, well, at this point they have a delivery service. They also have an app, so they don't rely on other people. But it will probably be about McDonald's even not owning. They own now their own restaurant, like they've bought the facility which is entirely them. Because sometimes you find out that the restaurant that they are using is a restaurant that does not even belong to them. They might be renting. So now here they are also giving another example of an automobile company. Backward integration will be about them buying steel, or manufacturing steel from iron ore that they will be acquiring for mining and everything like that. Then the forward integration will be about them having their own distribution system and even have their own dealers all over. We have another company that's a milling company. What happened is like they can have their own farm, and they're even having the baked good, and the baked good now will fall under forward integration, while the farming will come back in the backward integration. So you understand that backward integration is about acquiring the raw material that we used to buy before, and the forward integration is about being able to provide the finished good all by ourselves. Now, there's another strategy which is called the Keiretsu network. Keiretsu network is a Japanese concept that came. It's actually a strategy that is a middle ground between having fewer suppliers and vertical integration. So it means that we don't really have many suppliers. We only have few, but also we deal with the vertical integration. What happened in this place? So sometimes it's like we have a supplier that becomes part of our coalition. So we had someone that was actually providing us the service, but we became so close, with the trust is so high that that person becomes even like part of an organization. So he start actually providing everything that we need when we need them and everything. It often provide even financial support for suppliers. This is what can happen whereby you have a supplier in your company where you want to get you want to get item from the supplier. You don't have the money. The supplier is like, okay, we can just give you this item for free. So we can just give you this item, sell them, once you get the benefit, the profit, then come back to us, then you can pay back. You see, this is what we consider as a Keiretsu network, where you have other suppliers or external suppliers that form, they even become part of your organization. So generally what happens is like you need to have a long-term relationship with your supplier. You don't just wake up in the morning then you build something like that. No, you really need to have trust to create such relationship. Now another strategy that in supply chain that can be used in virtual companies. With virtual companies, what happens is like we have a huge number of our suppliers, but what we do is like we don't even produce most of our products. What we do with them is like we get someone that can do them for us, and they just send us the final product and we sell them as ours. So it is also good because you have a fluid organizational boundaries that can allow the creation of unique enterprise to meet changing market demand. And especially you will find this when it comes to the clothing apparel. When you look at a company like Gucci, I don't know if someone has seen a manufacturing warehouse for Gucci here in South Africa. For what I've never seen. But then most of the product, they get them, they come in South Africa and they sell. Maybe Gucci, not maybe, some of the collection from Gucci, it's not even Gucci that makes it. They just got some suppliers, and those suppliers, they just tell them that we want something like this, and those suppliers are going to manufacture everything for them, and they provide it to them. So it's more like they don't really own the company like a physical part. They don't manufacture everything from the beginning till the end. They have other people that just give it to them. All they do, they just sell to you. This can be an example of virtual companies. Now, one thing that is really important with the supply chain is like there need to be trust. There need to be mutual agreement. And they need to be compatible organizational culture. Because you cannot do business with a supplier that you do not trust. You cannot do business with a supplier that does not have the same vision. You can have this supplier whose vision is just to sell and make money, no matter the quality that they provide. But on your side, you are this company that is like, if it is not quality, we're not giving it to the customer. So when you partner with someone like that, you guys will never get along because all they want is money. Whether the quality is good or not, it won't work. So that's why whenever you need to start a business, whenever a company exists, whatever they do is like they're always focused. Before creating a partnership, you create first a mutual agreement on the goals, that this is what we need to do. Let's agree. Can we do that? Yet we can do it. Go forward. On top of that, do organizational culture work. Like I told you, corruption can be a culture. In many countries, especially in Africa, corruption is a culture. But you work with another company, that might be in Asia, and in those countries where things like corruption is not really something that is really encouraged, it's not really something that is it doesn't happen often. So when you have you have two companies, you have two companies that would like to have a partnership. All those cultures need to be enlightened so that we avoid confusion. Now, one of the issues that one might have also if you would like to integrate the supply chain is just that you need to have a local optimization and focus on local profit. The incentives, they can be a problem in the way that, for example, how do we do our promotions? How do we do our discount? Because as a company, we cannot make discount while our suppliers doesn't make discount. Large lot unit, for example, you don't want to buy a lot of units from your suppliers that will just come and stay in your office and stay in your in your warehouse. The more you buy, the more you need to sell. So those are few issues. You also have what we call the bullwhip effect. The bullwhip effect here, it is actually an effect that happens with information. Like the more the information moves in the supply chain, the more the information get distorted, and sometimes it even changes. We have seen that in Africa, where, for example, there are some countries where the president is like, I need 10,000 rand. The president passes the message to maybe the vice minister, who's going to be like, the president said 2,000 because he also want to get a 1,000 on top. Then it goes to the finance minister, was like, the president said 3,000 because he also need 1,000 that will be on top. And this is what we call bullwhip effect. It always happen. It also happen even in businesses, not necessarily in a way that we need to steal money, but just because of information, the information that is not consistent. Maybe we don't have a good information system, whereby the company needed 10,000 units, but as it moves in the supply chain, the person is like, we need maybe 10,001, 10,002, 10,100, and we start adding those things, and sometimes you have excessive material, sometimes you have a deficit. So these are small issues that one will find in the supply chain. Then we also have the vendor selection. Vendor selection is very important because you actually need to find out when a company would like to select their vendors, which means that people that might be selling on their behalf. So one of the things that you go about that, it is a three-stage approach, whereby first of all you evaluate your vendors. You look at critical decision, you find potential vendor, you determine the likelihood of them becoming good suppliers. Then you develop. Now in the development part, that's why now you start going to be more practical. You start training those vendors so that you make sure at least that they'll provide what we need. There is the help of engineering and production, and you also sometimes have to establish the policies, because you cannot just work like this. You just make sure that if this what happened, this is what we have to do. And obviously we have the negotiation part, whereby as we have a relationship like vendors. Well, everyone now needs to make sure that we are able to provide, to play our part safely, and everyone need to find themselves. Logistic management. Once again, this is another part of supply management that is very critical, and I'm pretty sure you have heard about the term logistics. I remember back then it was quite of a tricky word for me, and I used to feel like it was very complex. But when you look at logistic, it's mainly about obtaining efficient operation through integration of all the material acquisition, movement of people, movement of material, as well as the storage of activities. So it's all about this method whereby we try to manage the movement of people, to manage the movement of our product. Yes, our supplier want ABCD, but the supplier is in Africa. We are in Europe. How do we send it to them? How long is it going to take? All of those refer to logistic management. Now, generally, it is the second bullet says that it is a frequent candidate for outsourcing, which means that many people, they outsource logistic because if you have to do it by yourself, it's very expensive. For example, if I own my small business, I want to ship things to be sold maybe in France and everything like that. It's easier for me to go to DHL and send it so that it can be shipped straight to the customer, rather than me owing my own logistic, because I need the facility, I need people. That might be very, 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 very confusing. Now, it is good because it allows competitive advantage to be gained through the reduced cost and improved customer service. For example, someone who sends something using the post office and someone else who does the same thing by choosing DHL, it is different, because one will get there faster and you have feedback, you have the quality of the service that you receive. That's why they say that logistic management can be very important as far as competitive advantage is concerned. Now, there are 5 means of distribution in logistic management. We have the trucking, the railroad, the waterways, the air freight. You also have the pipeline. So when it comes to the trucking, this is more about moving products using the road, using trucks. It is generally one of the most popular way to be used, and it is flexible. It is flexible because whenever you wanted to ship something today, if it is cancelled, you guys can cancel. If you need more, you guys can get more fleet, more truck to come and deliver. The railroad, on the other side, it is good, but it's also capable of carrying large load. So that's why you find, for example, that there are some items like cars, you can easily transport them using a train. I mean, you using a train, yes. The only problem with it is just that it is not really flexible. If the train is set to leave at 10 and by 10 it doesn't go, you need to find another date. Or if it's supposed to carry a specific load and that specific load has been exceeded, the train cannot go. We need to wait so that we can find another booking, we can find another system. So this is why the railroad is also very important. The good thing with it is just that it allows to really take very large loads. The air freight, on the other side, it's one of the fastest ways sending things using airplane. It's good because it is fast, it is flexible. You have for light. The only problem is like you need most of the time light load, and speed is really important. So if you are really focusing on speed of delivery, for me, using the air freight will be very, very perfect. The only problem with it is like it might be expensive. Actually, it becomes, the more you have product, the more you even pay. You know, even as we travel from Johannesburg to Cape Town, they check your kg, they find out that you have 2 or 3 extra kgs, you have to be paid for the charges again. So the air freight is quite very, very, very expensive, unfortunately. The waterways, this is very interesting because it's typically used for bulky, for low value cargo. And sometimes you use it when time is not really important. So what you do is like when you send something, for example, there are some companies that will maybe buy cars, like cars from in Durban. Some of the cars are coming all the way from Japan, and as they come from Japan, it might take 3 to 6 months from them to leave Japan just to South Africa. So all of those, either make sure that if time is not a problem or speed is not a problem, then you can go for that one. But the advantage is like it's very good for bulky projects and low value project and low value cargo. Now we also have the pipeline, which are generally used whenever we need to transport oil, gas, and some other chemicals to product. That's when you can now deal with the pipelines and everything. Then we have e-procurement. E-procurement is actually now trending, especially during that COVID has arrived and everything. So it's mainly about using the internet to facilitate the purchasing, and it's really one of the new trend when it comes to the fourth industrial revolution, whereby we are now using technology, we are using all this online payment and everything. It is very good because it speeds the purchasing, so I don't have time for me to travel all the way to see my supplier or the company for me to decide what I want to do. Can just give them a call, check their website, check out, I get my product. So e-procurement remove the garbage, I mean the barrage of paperwork, which means that at this point here we have the requisition, the request for bid, the bid for evaluation, the purchase order. All of these, there are so many paperwork that have been reduced by the e-procurement. You can identify many companies like Takealot in South Africa. You have Amazon, you have eBay, you have Alibaba. All of these are companies that one can use whenever you're dealing with e-procurement. So with that said, that's all about supply chain. I hope that this video has really been helpful to you and you guys have been able to learn something new. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel, for sharing this video. I'll see you guys in my next video. Take care and